disruptive.
America that I fought.
Weird thing to happen. Hello, one and all. Welcome to this edition of Kitz Corner. Been a fantastic day so far. So this looks like the potential end of TikTok, as the bill that could potentially ban it if it doesn't get sold to some American company, so they can take control of the application and sell you propaganda and the war machine, which is one of the main reasons why TikTok is the centerfold of all this, misinformation, why we need to speculate on social media applications, even though we don't do that with Facebook, even though we don't do that with Google. And these are applications that I would put under the spotlight as well on top of TikTok. But TikTok seems to be the top priority because they believe that it's Chinese influence that is making young people skeptical of our foreign affairs, which we all know our foreign affairs are absolutely terrible. And I don't think TikTok is primarily Chinese influence is not the reason why TikTok is being part of this blatant bill to potentially ban it. So here's an article from NPR, which, by the way, another point to mention on top of saying there's potential Chinese influence and also war propaganda that they want to sell to the young people. Another reason potential why they're banning TikTok and putting social media on the harsh spotlight is because younger generations, and more so, are divesting away from traditional media. They're divesting away from NPR. They're divesting away from network television or cable outlets and all these different streaming platforms because they know that they are cultivized with the establishment. And the establishment finds TikTok and social media platforms a deep competitor. So they want to remove that competition as much as possible and try to transcend younger generations back into the means of the establishment, back into the beholds of corruption and manipulation and mass control. So that's another faction into this bill here, even though this is a NPR article that I'm stating here. So it says House approves sell or be banned TikTok measure, attaching it to a foreign aid bill. TikTok is now hurtling toward what is perhaps its biggest threat yet in the United States. The House on Saturday passed legislation that could trigger a nationwide ban of TikTok if its Chinese owner does not sell the video app. The Senate could vote on the bill as soon as Tuesday. While lawmakers in the House advanced a similar bill last month, this effort is different for two reasons. It is attached to a sweeping foreign aid bill providing support for Ukraine and Israel. It addresses concerns that some members of the Senate by extending the deadline for TikTok to find a buyer. President Biden supports the effort that means TikTok being forced to sell or face a possible ban is on the fast track to becoming law. And isn't it ironic that President Biden, who just signed on to TikTok to get younger people interested in his campaign, is now on board for potentially banning TikTok? Could it be also another speculation of this ban? Could it also be the fact that younger generations saw Joe Biden on TikTok and were so repetitive by the president of the United States infiltrating on social media that they just wanted it to be banned because they know there's going to be a lot of hate spam. There's going to be a lot of pushback on the Biden-Harris campaigning on TikTok, considering all the efforts that they screwed younger generations on. It could mark the first time ever that the United States government has passed a law that could shut down an entire social media platform, setting the stage for what is expected to be the most protracted legal battle. TikTok condemned the bill as an unconstitutional attack against the hugely popular service. It is unfortunate that the House of Representatives is using the cover of important foreign and humanitarian assistance to once again jam through a bill that would trample the free speech rights of 170 million Americans, said TikTok spokesperson Alex Hurrick. National security officials in Washington have feared that the Chinese government could use TikTok to promote propaganda aimed at interfering in U.S. elections or surveil some of the 170 million Americans who use the app every month. These concerns were mainly large hypothetically. So that's all just to fear monger you. That's all the fear mongering tactics that Chinese are spying on you, just like how they say there's Russians hacking the election and foreign interference that are warping the minds of young people, and that's why they're so against the wartime, good loving American value system that we create genocides and assist in the bombing and blowing up of nations. How dare you go against that? How dare you dance and think about, prosperities and freedoms? How dare you think that the Constitution works in favor of you? TikTok says it was built, TikTok is owned by Chinese tech giant ByteDance, yet there is no publicly available evidence that government officials have ever influenced that what Americans see on the application, nor any proof that officials in China have spied on US citizens on TikTok. TikTok says it was built a firewall between its headquarters in Los Angeles and its parent company in Beijing, but some reports indicate US user data does still remove between the two. While there is no evidence made public that Chinese government officials have addressed Americans' information through TikTok, the idea that China has the theoretical ability to weaponize an application used by half of an America has been enough to set an off on an all-down crackdown. Under the bill just passed by the House, TikTok would be given up to a year to find a company or a group of investors to acquire it. That extends the lifetime of the 6-month window the application has given in the original bill the House passed last month, which some senators say was too short. But that raised a critical question among TikTok experts. What exactly would they be buying? TikTok's algorithm, the secret sauce of the application, is owned by ByteDance. And during the Trump administration's campaign against TikTok, China added content recommendation algorithms to its export control list, meaning selling the technology would require the blessing of the Chinese government. James Lewis, director of the Technology and Public Policy Program at the Center for Strategic and International Studies, said that it's non-starter for Beijing. The Chinese say very firmly this month at senior levels that they would not let the algorithm be sold, and without it, it's an empty deal, Lewis told NPR. Then there is a hurdle of the price tag itself. Given that TikTok is one of the largest and most popular social media platforms in the world, its value would put it out of reach of all but the largest tech companies. It's not known exactly how much TikTok is worth, but analysts peg its privately owned parent company, ByteDance, at around $225 billion. TikTok is by far the company's most successful service. If a Silicon Valley giant attempted to take over TikTok, that would almost certainly attract scrutiny from the antitrust enforcers in Washington, who have grown increasingly skeptical of deals that increase the reach of already massive tech firms. Lewis of the Center for Strategic and International Studies is doubtful the latest push will result in ByteDance letting go of TikTok, but he noted it does forestall the issue until after the November presidential election. The bill buys time to figure out a real solution while putting space between passage and the election. So what it sounds like is there's no possibility that this is going to be sold, and it looks more potentially like it's going to be banned, which is inevitably their goal. It was their entire goal in the process to find a way to silence out 170 users in America who are using this platform to share ideas because they want control of the narrative. They want control of the information. They want control of the algorithms to make sure that younger people that are using TikTok, the kind of Gen Z and millennial and Generation Alpha that are using this application, be flushed into the mainstream establishment when it comes to war information, when it comes to U.S. electoral system, when it comes to the intelligence services, they want to be manipulated and brainwashed through social media masses, and they can't, as more people are divesting away from traditional sources, they want to go after TikTok. That's pretty much the gist of it. So, even stuff like this that we know already about, and we've shown this before, but CNBC points out Europe gave TikTok CEO 24 hours to respond about Israel Hamas war misinformation. So, this is all based on, again, going back to what Tucker Carlson said about the intelligence services being the mafia and controlling, dictating everybody. This is kind of an example of it. This is being dictated by higher ups in the intelligence services to dictate to countries to go after tech companies that, hey, you can't be spreading around information that we don't like. We need to propagandize people. We need people to be tricked into applauding this war, applauding this genocide. And you can't allow this to happen on your social media platform. So you have to do something about it. You have to dictate to big tech companies that users cannot provide this information. So this is one of the many examples of why TikTok is in the spotlight of this. No other social media application has really been detailed with this, although in the bill, in the actual litigation itself, it does state that other websites are tied to the potential of the TikTok ban, that they can go after any website, which again, the whole point of the censorship movement is to open the floodgates and make it generally and vague to go after any website they deem as a foreign influence. So there's a lot of causes to this. There's a lot of reasons why this became such a higher up issue that they fast tracked to do everything they can to pass this as much as possible, including apparently working on Saturday, which that surprised me that U.S. government worked on weekends to pass bills. But here's one of the big reasons to this. Comes from this video. This is from the director of the ADL, which is the Anti-Defamation League. This is one of the big moments that kind of brought attention of why TikTok needed to be banned, why TikTok was such a fundamental security issue, why all of a sudden this application of dancing children for a short few seconds has become such a high priority issue on the mainstream media. This is potentially one of the big reasons why.
But I also want to point out that we have a major generational problem. All the polling I've seen, ADL's polling, ICC's polling, independent polling, suggests this is not a left-right gap, folks. The issue in the United States of support for Israel is not left and right. It is young and old. And the numbers of young people who think that Hamas's, massacre was justified is shockingly and terrifyingly high. And so we really have a TikTok problem, a Gen Z problem, that our community needs to put the same brains that gave us Taglit, the same brains that gave us all these other amazing innovations, need to put our energy toward this, like, fast. Because again, like, we've been chasing this left-right divide. It's the wrong game. The real game is the next generation, and the Hamas and their accomplices, the useful idiots in the West, are falling in line in ways that are terrifying. Last thing I'll just say, we saw a dramatic change in the language of the activists here in America on October the 8th. The language of groups that we've long tracked, who've long been problematic, like Students for Justice in Palestine and Jewish Voices for Peace, they flipped like this and went to like Iranian propaganda. The language I could show you from their toolkits, because our analysts are in their groups. We saw this again on October the 8th. It was that fast. Like, the language in their toolkits was all about the Zionist entity and lots of other language that we recognized from Iranian propaganda.
So they need to ban TikTok an application used widely for the younger generation because they need to create more useful idiots for their propaganda. Because God forbid people sharing information and showing real-time amateur video of what's happening on the grounds in wars is potentially harmful for the people that are not fighting in the war. Isn't that kind of funny? The people so influenced, so butthurt on the potential impact of social media showing and exposing war are the people, the same cowards that would never fight in these wars to begin with. So this is all about control. This is all about narrative control. This is about controlling the masses. And once younger generations are getting more away from traditional media, like their elders are doing, and they're showing, Zionist propaganda on mainstream media. They're showing the war regimes. They're showing how beneficial America is around the world as we blow up countries and destroy their democracies and cause havoc around the world. They see that as a potential good because they're seeing MSNBC and CNN. Younger people are getting away from that and looking at social media as their entertainment and news source, and they're potentially horrified that younger people are seeing a different viewpoint. They're worried about that because younger people are witnessing firsthand amateur video of other individuals that are capturing in real time and showing people what war is. And that's horrible for someone like him. That's horrible for someone like the U.S. House. That is horrible for people in the military industrial complex. How dare we have young people connecting with other people to share and expose information that could harm and potentially criticize the realms of the military industrial complex and the rest of the establishment used to oppress us every single day. That is why they took every action, including working on a weekend, to fast track as much as this bill as possible. And considering the fact that they're noting that it's hard to find a buyer, it's hard to find someone to, sell this algorithm and the application to some sort of corporation, they knew that there was no potential buyer. That this little ultimatum of buying or be banned, well, no one's gonna find a buyer. So it looks like their goal of potentially banning it might be a success, which again is just another tool of them trying to censor out and silence millions of users on a social media application because they fear the information getting out. This is an information war. This is warfare against the masses based on information being shared on social media. That's all this is all about. Nothing to do with Chinese propaganda, nothing to do with influence from other nations. Again, this is the internet. It's the World Wide Web. And if we want to talk about foreign influence in other websites, then every single website application you ever go to would be scrutinized for foreign influence. Everybody. But why TikTok is top priority is exactly what he just said. It's a problem for the Gen Z. It's a problem that we can't control them.